Check, check. Okay, it's 6:30. We're going to go ahead and call to order the work session for April for the City Council. First up is the Municipal Services Committee, and I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Ed Long. Ed?
Mayor, thank you.
First thing on the agenda tonight is a appeal that is going to be sent to us from the Planning Commission on a denial that they made on a subdivision. Ben wants to...
I don't think I was working. Ben wants to explain to us basically what our duties are tonight. Actually, it'd be nothing tonight. This function that we're looking at tonight, that Ben's going to explain for the committee, is largely ministerial. We have a section in our UDC that allows the developers to use this as an appeal process. And it's my understanding that he has triggered that. Ben's going to go over all that and make sure that all of that was followed. And then when Ben gets through, then I will take it back and explain to you the vote.
Ed is absolutely correct. That's what this is. We are an appeal from a denial of a final plat from the Planning Commission. I did want to say a little bit about the law just because you guys don't see these that much. I understand we haven't seen one in several years. It's also a little bit of a different function for you all. Your normal function is legislative. You pass resolutions and ordinances and approve financing and budgetary and this kind of stuff. This is a little bit different. This is what the case law says, quasi-judicial. So you're acting in almost a judge-like role when you are going to hear this hearing. So I did want to kind of bring that to your attention. The code does allow for this. That's what the code specifies, that when someone who is, it says, aggrieved of a planning commission decision can appeal to you. If a party is not happy with your decision, they then appeal on up to circuit court. You are the final award for the city, although after you guys get done, it goes to Lone Oak. The process for this, so you will vote tonight to set it for hearing. At the hearing, Laura will have a report prepared for you. That's how the code reads, that you receive a report from the administration that will go out ahead of time so you can review it. After the report, you can hear from the applicant, from Mr. Green, and then it almost becomes like a public hearing. You can hear from anybody else who would like to be heard, or you can yourself ask to hear from people. I think that we're going to try to have Chad Young on or available. He is the chairman of the Planning Commission. In case you want to hear from him, you can ask questions of Laura if you want some clarifications on her report, or from anybody else you think you may need to hear from. It is your hearing. Like I said, you're not judges, but quasi-judicial. You're like the judge of this hearing. So you can kind of decide after the applicant goes and anybody else who wants to go, you kind of decide where it goes from there. There are 3 options you will have at the end of everything. You can affirm the Planning Commission, that is, say that you agree with their decision. You can overrule the Planning Commission, saying that you would grant the final plat, or you can grant it with certain conditions. And you can say, yes, we will grant it with A, B, C, D, E conditions. So you will need to be kind of cognizant of who's making what motion that night. The first motion may be a motion to affirm, or maybe a motion to reverse. You just have to kind of be watching that. It may require more than one vote. If a vote to affirm fails, then that doesn't decide the issue. You have to decide whether you're going to reverse it or whether you're going to grant it, whether you're going to grant it with conditions. So this is different. It may actually require more than one vote of everybody. So you have to kind of be on your toes with that. There is one interesting wrinkle in the code. It says that if new information is presented to you, so if something completely new comes out, if something comes out and Laura says, you know what, we've never heard that before, then you must send it back to the Planning Commission for reconsideration. That is a shall in the code. You shall send it back. You don't get information for the first time. Planning Commission gets it for the first time, they make their decision, then they send it up to you. So if something new comes out that night, that kind of very strictly limits what we have to do. We have to send it back to them. And then, like I said, you guys will vote, and whatever you decide is the final word for the city. And then any appeal from you guys gets taken to circuit court. So that's how I expect it. That's how the hearing should go according to the code. Like Ed said, the vote tonight is purely to set it for hearing. That does need to happen. Both the code and state statutes allow for a hearing from the Planning Commission. So that's kind of, tonight, like I said, is mostly ministerial, setting it for a hearing, and at that hearing date is when you guys will actually make the decision on it. We will try and get as much as possible to you, like Laura's report and everything else ahead of time, so you have time to review it. If you have any questions about procedure in the meantime, I'm happy to ask them. I can't get too much into the facts because, like I said, you guys are acting almost as judges, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me or anybody else to go into the facts of it with you. If you have questions about the law or procedure, I'm happy to answer those for you. In the meantime, feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, swing by, and I'll be happy to do that.
Ben, thank you. The way that, hang on just there, you may need you here just in a minute. The way that we're organized and the way that we passed our resolution, our ordinance number 1 to organize us, we're organized in committee fashion. The vote here tonight will be amongst the members of the Municipal Services Committee only. I wish that we could waive that and get a vote completely of the council on this, but I don't intend to try to go through that and everything. We're going to stick with our procedures right down the line. I think that's the best thing for us to do. I agree with Ben 100% on this thing. I think that this needs to go to the council for a hearing. It is a procedure of ours. I would not want to deny anybody the ability to appeal things forward. I'm not trying to tell you how to vote or anything. I'm telling you, though, let your conscience be your guide on this. If anybody's got any questions, anybody on the committee has got any questions, address them to Ben now, if you would, please. Okay. Tammy, if you would, call the vote on that, please.
Long.
Chairman, if you would, I'd like to abstain. I was the chairman for the Planning Commission when this came up originally, and had advised on it, and I don't think I should vote on it.
Ben, I don't see any conflict with Councilmember Reed voting on it tonight to pass it to the council. Now, he may want to reevaluate that at that meeting on his vote then, but I don't see where in the world this would be a conflict.
I mean, that is completely up to him. I have spoken to Mr. Reed about that. I agree for the hearing of evidence that if he feels like he has that conflict, he was involved in a factual level back a number of years ago, that he should actually be conflicted on that. As far as tonight goes, it's completely up to you. Either way, I would agree with Ed in that this is really just a procedural vote tonight to set it for a hearing.
Okay.
But I'm not telling you to overstep your conscience either. If you don't think you don't need to do it tonight either, then don't do it tonight either. But it is pure, at this point, a court in the future, if this ends up in circuit court, no one's going to fault you for doing a procedural vote that is mandated by code tonight.
Okay, thank you. Then I rescind that. I'll vote on bringing it to a hearing.
Okay, let's let Tammy call the vote.
Long.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Red.
Yes.
Cope.
Yes.
Okay, the hearing will take place then at the council meeting on the 19th. Is that correct, Mayor? I would like that council meeting, if we could. Chad, I need you here, if you could be here. And, of course, the staff will be here. And all the documentation, everything is directed by the UDC on how that needs to be prepared. So Ben and staff will be taking care of that. All right, our next item is I have moved into departmental reports this month. I've got 2 scheduled. They're going to be relatively short. They are going to just be highlights, but the main thing that they're going to do, I think, is reintroduce themselves and their department to this council, and I hope trigger some conversation between individual council members and the departments if necessary to be able to get some things done. We're going to have 2 tonight, and I hope 2 next work session in May as well. But 2 tonight that we've got is going to be coming from the Planning Commission. That's going to be handled by Laura.
Okay, as y'all saw in the packet, this quarterly report is from January of this year through March of this year. As you can see, the Planning Commission's been pretty busy. I didn't exactly know how you wanted a report, so I kind of just rolled with what I had. If you'd like a presentation on the screen next quarter, let me know. I'll be glad to do that if you'd like, or if this is sufficient enough.
This one looks good tonight. I'm happy with it and everything like that. Of course, each quarter is going to depend.
Right.
The reports may change, so, but tonight looks good. Thank you.
Okay. We had 4 rezones, 1 special use permit, 5 preliminary plats, 3 final plats, 1 site plan, 5 replats to reconfigure lots, and an amendment to the Unified Development Code. As you can see, I just laid out some images of what the applicants submitted. 2 of these rezones actually are on the meeting after we conclude with this for their 3rd reading. The first one is on a rezone from an R1 to an R2 for 22 proposed units located off a campground road. The second one is a C2 and part of it R1 to an R4 high-density multifamily, which is a second phase to the current development of Reserve at the Pine on South Pine Street. It is an additional 160 units that they're proposing. Again, this is a proposal for a rezone. Neither one of these have gone to site plan review yet. The third one, y'all saw the rezone from R1 to R4 off of Eagle Street. The fourth one is an R1 to a C2, a commercial parking lot behind the Heritage Plaza is in desperate need of additional parking. So they have rezoned half an acre to do some extra parking behind that commercial building. Again, they've not done a site plan for that yet either. These were all just sketches. The second one, the special use permit was for a concept plan for some apartments off of 367. Then we had some preliminary plats. Some of these went through the site plan, but they've not completed or are not ready to do building permits yet. So we had a proposed laundromat come through, a proposed tent shop, a proposed 34-lot subdivision, which is outside the city limits, but is within our planning jurisdiction. Then the church at the corner of Kerr Station and Highway 321, Cabot Apostolic Church, they're wanting to expand. So they had to do a preliminary plat as well. Then we have a current business that is within a current building they're moving, and they are going to a new location. Then we had the second phase of a development, Heritage Meadows off of Campground Road, 36 additional lots in that development. Then even if you have a piece of land that is within the city limits of Cabot and is only done by meets and bounds, you have to plat it if you would like to build on it. So we had a gentleman that had to do a single 1-lot subdivision so that he was able to build on the property that he had. And then we also had a final plat for the Lakewood subdivision come through earlier in the month. And then we had the site plan for Cabot Apostolic Church, as you can see. I didn't put the replats in here because they were just simple replats of either going from 3 lots down to 1 lot or 2 lots combining into 1 lot. So as you can see, the Planning Commission has been pretty busy the past few months, and I don't anticipate that to slow down for us, which is a good thing for Cabot because that means we are moving in the right direction. If y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer anything.
Anybody? Laura, thanks. Appreciate it. Our next report is from our neighbors across the breezeway from us, the Cabot Water and Wastewater Department. Gary?
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. Got it. Okay. We actually have, I've got it on slides here for us, so if you want to turn around and view there, I don't think you've got it on your tablets. I think the only one that does that maybe is the mayor. Next set of slides. Okay, thank you. All right. Good evening. My name is Gary Walker. I chair the Cabot Water and Wastewater Commission, and I have some of my other commissioner fellow gentlemen here with me tonight. Bert Mayer, which is back here. Bert, if you stand up, please. Next to him over here is Jim Burke, Richard Gray, and here also you all know Tim Joyner is our general manager here in this. One of our commissioners, Jonathan Stillman, can be with us tonight. He's out of town on business. Our general staff is, as I said, Tim Joyner is our general manager. Bruce Brown is our finance manager. Karen Ballard is our HR and our safety officer. And Dave Langstaff. Dave is our water and wastewater superintendent. Mike Bickerstaff does our field service manager over all the meter readers. And Miss Kathy Wood, longtime employee, is our customer service manager down in the office. So that is the folks that run the day-to-day operational business of Cabot Waterworks. A few statistics as of December 31, 2020, we've got 33 employees. We've 10,467 metered water customers in Cabot, 9,104 wastewater customers. We process 8,720 accounts of sanitation for the city. And our 2021 operating budget will be a little over $5.1 million, and that would include roughly $86,000 in debt service and that. I think I need to talk a little bit about splitting water and wastewater out. Let's handle water first. First off, I'd like, some of you all have not been exposed to the water side of it, and some of you have, from those of you that are sitting on the council. So the water regulatory agencies that actually have input on the water side for Cabot Waterworks are the Arkansas Department of Health. And Arkansas Department of Health, they take care of the quality part of the water. We run monthly, what we call BACT test, which are the bacteriological finds that they have. Those are random samples that are taken from throughout our Cabot Waterworks system, submitted to the Department of Health. We get a report back from them, and then we publish a report based on what they give on an annual audit, which you'll find on our website. That's the most up-to-date numbers and figures that you would have from the Department of Health. The second portion, the second regulatory agency is Arkansas Natural Resources Commission, or ANRC. And the Arkansas Natural Resources Commission, in the water side of the business, actually controls the water service territory that we have. Every water service territory, be it Ward, Cabot, Austin, Lonoke White, any of them for that matter, they have water service territories, okay, and that's all controlled and statutorily and regulatorily by Arkansas Natural Resources Commission. The second thing the ANRC Commission regulates is where your water comes from, where you have the ability to use wells or whether you have to go to surface water. All right, so they are very much in that, and they are the ones that control that from a state commission standpoint. Kind of look at them as a super regulatory agency inside the state of Arkansas. The third regulatory agency is the federal guys, which is the EPA, and they actually control through the Clean Water Act, the Federal Clean Water Act. All right, so you have to maintain your permits and stuff through them to be able to handle their side of the business. The fourth thing that we do is use USGS, which is a U.S. Geological Survey outfit, and they actually maintain and they check our aquifer, where our wells are at. So they check the level of the aquifers, and they provide that data to ANRC, which they use that in making determinations of whether you have to go out of your wells or whether you are able to stay in them or have to go to surface water. All right? And the last piece of the water regulatory agencies is state law, the statutory laws that are on the books of the state of Arkansas on how you have to operate a water system. All right, so those are the regulatory agencies that we follow, as well as city ordinances. In dealing with water, water is something we term it in two ways: potable water and non-potable water. Potable water is water that you have out of your tap and you drink, okay? And so non-potable water is raw water that has not been treated. Let's look at it in those two versions at this point right now in dealing with the water side. Water is something that you can't snap your fingers and turn around you can't turn that project around overnight. So you have to have a long-term strategic plan for water when you're supplying water for any size city or customer base. One of the things, it's not the only one, but some of the variables that we use in our long-term strategic planning for water is Cabot's population trend. We take this data from Metroplan, is where we get it from, and it's the annual census data that you use. And if you'll look at that graph there, you'll see that if you could see it, and you could see it clearly, there's a green line confidence limit on the top, there's a red confidence limit on the bottom, and the middle dash line there is the median, which is what we project that Cabot's population is going to be as it goes through the decades. Now, we've updated it through 2010. We don't have the 2020 census data yet, at least back in of what it will be. But I think if you look at that, and Ken, I'm not looking exactly at it, but I think the medium line somewhere is around 28,000 on there, isn't it? Somewhere around 28,500, let's say approximate would be the calculation or the Metroplan trend data would show it. I think the high is around 29,000 and some, and the low would be around 26. So somewhere in the middle there is the planning of where we go through and how we look at that. The bottom half of that graph down there would be our annual water usage in million gallons per day, if you could see that. And on the bottom down there, it's the amount of water that we have as far as peak demand during the day, and then the other one is average MGD that we would use during the day. All right, and we plan that out through 2080, as you can see there. And so you really want to be at least 20 to 30 years out on water at any point in time, and actually we're probably 50 years out, but we want to tune that back, and we have some, we certainly have some things that's going to come to our attention here as we get on through the next few years. Our supply of water, and I apologize for this, I didn't know that we were, the lighting here is going to be very difficult for you all to see except what's in white. We currently do our water in two sources. One is wells that we have that we pump water from, and the other is we take a little surface water from CAW through a pipe. So, but currently today, most of our water we still take and pump from wells, groundwater wells that we own. All right. So if you looked on the side over here, you would see that we have a 4.4 million gallon per day treatment plant that we own. All right, we treat our own water in. And on any given day, we're limited by ANRC to 3 million gallons a day currently in that treatment plant because of the alluvial aquifer that we pump out of. All right. And so that becomes very important because ANRC has determined that everybody that's on wells, they want you out of the well field, at least they want us out of the alluvial aquifer that we're in around here, and they want us on surface water. All right. So what they have done is we have went back and forth with them for quite some time, and last October they gave us a determination that said in 2026 we have to be out of the well field, period, and we have to remove the pumps. Okay? So that's a date that I want you to keep in mind, all right, out there, which is October of 2026. We do have a supply from CAW up to 9 million gallons a day that we will that we will certainly have as a water supply. But we're probably going to go back and have another conversation with ANRC because if you look where those pipes are, they come across the I-430 bridge, all right? And so if we have the pumps pull from the wells and we had a catastrophic emergency, we'd have no way for a water source except for our tanks that we have. Okay, so that's certainly one thing that we're going to look at, and we're already evaluating that as far as options as we go forward. As I said, water storage, we have 3 main pressure planes that the city of Cabot we maintain. One is called the main plane, another one intermediate, and then we have what we call hilltop. That storage capacity, the water tanks that you see around here, if you will, is approximately 6.1 million gallons of water. That ends up being about a day and a half supply. However, even though we can store 6.1, we've only got 4.8 usable because we want to maintain a 20 PSI minimum for residential, commercial, and fire protection so that we want to be able to push that water through the pipes wherever we are in the city. All right, so about 4.8 million of that is usable at any point in time. Just a few statistics here as far as our water distribution system. We have about 269 miles of pipe in the ground of various pipe sizes, and we've got everything from AC all the way through ductile iron and PVC. There's over 3,400 valves, as you can see there, that we have, over 1,175 fire hydrants, and then other appurtenances that we have. We keep all of this, it's all digitized. We use the GIS data mapping system, geo-mapping system, and everything we have is in a digital database. At any point in time, we can pull up and look and see and exactly GPS know exactly where those items are at, as we've marked and done over time. Okay, that was the water side of it and the brief side, just a brief general overview. Let's look at the wastewater side, and we'll kind of take the same content of it as we go through. The wastewater regulatory agencies are the Arkansas Department of Health. Although they're not worried about the quality of water as far going into the wastewater plant, they're certainly worried about the effluent that's coming out of the plant and its back T level and the bugs that are coming through it that we would dump back into the natural stream that comes out of the wastewater treatment plant down there. So that was one regulatory agency. The second one is the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality, or ADEQ. All right, they control the permitting process, and they look at the process from the influent side all the way through the plant and all the way going out through the effluent side of the wastewater plant. Third item is the Arkansas Natural Resources Commission, and again, they control the wastewater service territory from a regulatory agency. EPA, from the federal standpoint, you have permits for your plant that you have to have and maintain their quality. And the last one, of course, is state law, which from a statutory regulation that regulates how wastewater must be done inside the state of Arkansas. Probably the number one thing that we are challenged by on the wastewater side is called SSOs, or sanitary sewer overflows. Anytime you get into any wastewater system, theoretically, you would like to say that there's no groundwater that go into your pipes other than the wastewater that flows through them. In reality, that's not true. That's known in the business as I&I, or infiltration and inflow. Everything we do from the wastewater side is to either increase the capacity or replace the current aging infrastructure wherever it would be within our system to minimize sanitary sewer overflows. If you could look at that graph, and you would see that there's a plot line there from 2005 through 2021, and that's the SSOs, or the reduction of SSOs that we have. Every SSO you have, you must report to ADEQ. All right, and in so we maintain what we call a master wastewater plan. Again, I apologize for not knowing that, the lighting that we would have here. But we have a master wastewater plan. We also have a master water plan that we keep on file, and ADEQ very much makes us live by this. The first one, it was phase one. Those capacity improvements have been completed long ago. Phase two, the capacity improvements there, all but one have been totally completed. And then we're looking at phase three, which are the Holland Bottom side down here and up through Candlewood. That would be part of phase three. And then in addition to that, we have an annual infrastructure replacement sheet here that you would look at. It goes manhole to manhole of all the manholes that need replacement pipe within the city of Cabot, within our wastewater treatment service area. A few stats on the wastewater collection system. We've got, there's two parts of a wastewater system. One is gravity sewer mains. We would like to be as much gravity sewer main as possible because it doesn't cost us anything to pump that water. And so wherever we can put gravity in the ground, we want to do that. It is more capitalized, it is more capital intensive up front because you must lay on a grade. However, in the long run, it's by far the better way to go. About 157 miles of that, you can see the various footages and the various types of pipe that we use there. And then on the force main side, approximately 35 miles of that in force main that's in the ground today within the Cabot wastewater system. Again, a few more stats there. A few shows us how many manholes and stuff we've got and all that, and grinder pumps. You can see 3,200 manholes, 584 grinder pumps inside the city, and various other stats that we keep up with on a daily operational basis. Some of the future objectives for the Commission and Cabot Waterworks et al. Is perform water and wastewater rate studies, make sure that we're maintaining the water deposit requirements as so-called by city ordinance and state. Wholesale rates, we only really have one wholesale rate customer today, which would be the city of Austin on an emergency-only basis if something happened there. Capital requirements on O&M and depreciation in both systems. We're continuing to look and develop our long-term cost of service models, formulating our financing plan for wastewater infrastructure improvements, and we continue on a daily basis to fight I&I throughout the system. That's one of the things that we must always continue to do. We continue to loop water mains and minimize outages and to improve water quality. We maintain a hydraulic working model to make sure we have and correct deficient hydrant flows throughout the city, wherever they're at, and in cooperation with the Cabot Fire Department. Wastewater plant sludge disposal, and we assure on a daily basis that we meet the ADU requirement to eliminate any SSOs via our master wastewater plan. And of course, the last thing is we continue to always try to control O&M cost. And with that, I would be happy to try to entertain or answer any questions, or certainly if we can't answer them, we'll do the research and get back to you. Mr. Long.
Anybody got any questions for Gary? You've got him here now, so bombard him.
Mr. Walker, right here.
Yes, sir.
I recently had a forum with the mayor, with contractors in the town of Cabot, and a common theme was the negative atmosphere at Cabot Waterworks when developing new subdivisions. And I was just kind of wondering if you could shed a little light on that.
Well, I guess I would need more in the background of what you're talking about there, Mr. Hillenberg, but we certainly want to promote economic development anywhere we can, but we do have rules and regulations and policies that need to be followed or must be followed when a new subdivision goes in the ground, such as the type of pipe, inspections, make sure it's inspected and bedded correctly, and all of that. If you have a specific instance, certainly get that to us, and we'll discuss that. I'll be happy to discuss that with you or look into it.
I know one instance that's off the top of my head was like with the grinder pumps,
Mm-hmm.
there were several developers that they said that they're highly discouraged with the grinder pumps over the gravity fed.
In any point in time that we cannot put in a pumping or force main system, which is what I went back to here, and we can go gravity, in the long run, that saves not only the customer at the house, because he doesn't have to pay an electrical bill on the grinder pump, and also we don't have to pay to pump the fluid from, let's say, point A to pump B. The only reason you use force mains is because you drain the wastewater to the lowest point on the property, and then you must pump it from there to point B, a higher elevation, if you will, to get over that elevation to get it going toward the wastewater treatment plant. So that would be one of the reasons that we would discourage using grinder pumps unless it's an absolute necessary thing. There are some places grinder pumps are the only way to get there. That's a baby force main, if you will, is what it is.
Do you feel that Cabot Water is competitive like the Grand Prairie on developing subdivisions?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Absolutely. Grand Prairie doesn't have a wastewater treatment plant. They have package systems. We have the wastewater treatment plant. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Mr. Walker, how many lift stations have we been able to put out of business and do it with gravity and save the taxpayers?
I don't have it right off the top of my head, Tim. 11. Some of them major. I knew you would have it, but anyway, some of them are major from a power cost standpoint.
Anytime you add power to stuff, it gets expensive real quick, and I know that y'all have been diligent over these last several years of trying to reroute and eliminate as many of those as possible. I didn't realize it was up to 11.
Ms. Walker, I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Was Central Arkansas Water looking at putting in a solar panel field to generate power for their equipment? But could we not negotiate a little bit better with them for long-term water source?
Certainly, I think it's a known fact that CAW is part of the consortium, let's say, that's going to put in the solar farm down here right off of 67. To what degree and how they have their agreement with Entergy or others, I'm not aware. I'm not aware of the particulars inside of that agreement. Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Yes, can I ask one quick question? Sorry. We had a couple people that asked me in the Facebook feed we were watching live on Facebook. They wanted you to elaborate a little bit on why we were getting off the well, or why we're being pressured to get off the well onto surface water.
That is a decision made by the Arkansas Natural Resources Commission. We certainly would like to stay in the well field. It is because, per USGS and per ANRC, the alluvial aquifer that we pump out of is going down at a rate they say is too fast. Tim, back me up here with the figure. Didn't they say that we're less than 1%? We're less than 1% of the water take out of that alluvial aquifer, but yet we're paying for it because most of the water taken out of the alluvial aquifer is taken by agriculture, if you will. And however, but regardless of that, again, remember ANRC, they control where you get your water from, either wells or surface water. And this has been an ongoing thing for many years. In fact, this started back before the commission ever got on. And I think Ed was maybe the only one here that was around back in the very early 1999 to 2000 time frame.
The aquifers are controlled by the feds.
Yes.
It comes from feds. They tell the state, which is ANRC, what they want done, and then the last in that line are the cities. Fortunately, we've got a state-of-the-art well field out there with a great plant. Unfortunately, we're on one of those aquifers that's got to be cleared out of. And it's not just here, it's nationwide. They're clearing residential cities out of aquifers all over the country. So it's not just here, unfortunately.
And it's not just us either. It's Jacksonville, it's Grand Prairie Bayou too.
And El Dorado.
All of us around us here that have well fields. Is there another one? That one? Okay.
I'm sure that everybody would love to stay in that well field out there. It's cheap. It's good water. It's cheap water. By the time it gets to your faucet, and
Yep.
Anything else is going to be unfortunate. One of the things that Gary did not mention, and I think he probably didn't mention it on purpose, and I probably shouldn't, but we have had a state senator that for the last several years, I don't know, last 10 years or so, maybe even 15, has been striving to get a bill passed, and he made it this year. That bill has been signed. It is an act, but it is in what they call regulatory revisions in writing now. Whenever those bills are passed down there, they are kind of like our ordinances. They are broad, but they're narrow to the point to where that you can't step on either side of them. But there's a lot of leeway in between, and the agencies that are affected by those then sit down and write regulations for that has to be approved back through the legislature and those kinds of things. It did not have an emergency clause on it. So I think it actually goes into effect, 60 days or 90 days, Ben, after they adjourn sine die? So it'll be 90 days, and they're still down there going full force, so we don't know when they're going to adjourn. The last I heard was they're shooting for April the 29th, so you're looking at 90 days past that before that thing goes into effect. It's going to change water world, guys, and I expect Gary will be back here along with Ben and probably a couple of other attorneys trying to explain to us exactly what's going to go on. It's a change. It's going to be a big change for Arkansas. It's not going to just affect us, but it's going to affect this whole state. I will have to give kudos to our senator and our representative. They did vote against it. They saw the spider webs in it, and they did vote against it, which was the right thing for them to do. But they didn't have much support on it. So we're there. That's going to have to be dealt with. And it's going to be a pretty sticky wicket, I think.
Yes, he's referring to Senator Hill and Representative Evans. They were very instrumental in doing everything they could to kill it or amend it as best as possible, and they were unable to do that. In fact, Senator Hill told me in the Senate he was the only one who voted against it. And Representative Evans was, he was instrumental in the House, but again, it was voted by a large margin for it, and it passed in both houses. If you want to look for your bedtime reading, it's Senate Bill 386 is what we're talking about.
Yeah, you need to get it and read it, and you'll see why that I'm a little concerned about the regulations that could come out of it, because it's pretty broad, but it's bad enough on its surface, but it's pretty broad. And that, in my opinion, is a perfect example of persistence paying off.
Mr. Walker, could you give us like a Reader's Digest version of what that bill might entail for us or how it'll affect us?
Well, Matt, really, I don't know just yet. It's the legal part of it. It's not finished. They're in a rewrite. It went to the House, was passed. Senate passed a version. House passed a version. Now it's back with the Senate. And so till we get a full version and it becomes law, I don't know what's going to be in it. But what I can tell you is SB 386, as it originally went through, some of it will be there, but we're going to have to evaluate, Matt, as time goes on, exactly how that's going to affect us long term.
But it's not only the exact language of the
Correct.
Bill either. It is the regulations. It is the regulatory commissions. It's the rules that they write based on what they interpret those regulations to be.
It basically makes ANRC a super regulatory agency within the state for water and wastewater. And I'm talking about super.
Removes a lot of local control. And that was, the Municipal League was opposed to it for that very reason. It removed a lot of home control out of it, and the Municipal League and the legislature up to this has pushed for years for local control, for home rule. And unfortunately, this act, in my opinion, is going to remove some of that, especially on the water side of it.
That's all. Anything else?
Anybody got anything else for Gary?
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Gary. Thank you so much. Seriously, we're going to look forward. That's not exactly the truth. We're going to look for a report on that whenever it gets up and gets running, which will probably be around September, I figure. That concludes the reports. I know that sometimes they get a little long, but they're never boring, that's for sure. And there's a lot of information that comes out of them. I'll tell you that Tim and Gary will answer your phone calls if you call them, and they will give you as much or more information than what you got here tonight on any subject that you want to bring up. Don't be bashful about calling them. Always feel free to do that. I'm speaking for both of them, but I know that they mean it. So, and I hope, if nothing else, it's what happens tonight. Brandon, whenever you go back and look over some more of that information that you got, you know, there's going to be more questions that you want to address with them, I'm sure. Feel free to do that. They will absolutely talk to you. That concludes this part of mine. The municipal input section is next, and as always, I want to roll that to the end, Mayor, if that's okay with you.
Okay, next up is Budget and Personnel Committee, Chairman Matt Weber.
We don't have anything to discuss that I know of other than what's coming up concerning the purchase of the vehicle. So I'll wait on that.
Good. Next up, Police and Fire, Chairman James Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. There is one item we have on our agenda to talk about tonight, It's a resolution authorizing a waiver for the service revolver of one of our retiring police officers. Officer Don Sims Jr. has retired, and it's traditional. I'd like to ask Chief Davis if he'll come up and speak to that, about how it varies from our regulations, but
generally, we have a city order that's been on the books since 2011 that we do not have to come before the council each time we have a retiring officer who retires at 15 years consecutively, retires in good standing and meets requirements. We're asking on this particular situation, there's one word in there that says consecutive. Officer Don Sims worked for us for 7 years, left for a couple years to go into the private sector, came back to work for us for just a few weeks shy of 11 years. So he has a total of 18 years service. So we were asking that we waive the word consecutive in this one and do a resolution to award him his service weapon, service pistol. He will also, as part of that other ordinance, has an option to buy his assigned shotgun at fair market value, and that has been appraised. And so he does have to purchase that from the city at fair market value. But we were just simply asking a waiver for the word consecutive in this scenario.
any questions from the council? In that case, I'd entertain a motion for us to waive the word consecutive on this particular authorization waiver for service weapon award policy.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
From Stephen Redd. Roll call vote would be
Reed,
yes.
Hillenberg,
Yes.
Redd,
Yes.
Cope.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Do we need something that says this goes to council?
Yes, well, it's probably best to treat that vote as a vote and send it to the full council, and then we'll look at it in the meeting immediately following this one as a.
Sure, does he need to revise the verbiage? Sir?
No, I mean, I think as long as the people who motioned and seconded it are okay with revising the language of the motion and seconding it.
To send this to full council.
Yes, sir.
Brandon?
I make that motion to send it to full council, please.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next item, Cabot, Community Development Committee, Chairman Ed Long.
Tonight, we have one item on this, and it was our hazardous waste collection that we had last weekend, wasn't it, Matt? 2 weeks ago, and you got another one coming up this week. It's not a hazardous waste, but you've got another big one, though. It's always a big one. All right, Matt's going to give us a report.
I said long, but never boring.
Yeah, well, here you go. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for allowing some time on the busy agenda for this presentation. We felt that you deserved to know the results of an event that the city helped pay for. The Household Hazardous Waste Roundup was held on Saturday, March 20th from 9 till noon. I'm hoping that you'll be able to see these slides. I'm not sure about the contrast, but all of the logos that you're seeing pop up on this screen were major players in the success of the event. City Beautiful, the city, CTS, Boy Scouts, WCA, Central Arkansas Planning and Development District, the Regional Recycling District, and Gone for Good Shredding, Cabot Fire, and Cabot Police. Everyone played a role and all contributed. So I got a little phrase up there, volunteers are fantastic. They really do make a difference. In addition to the members of Cabot City Beautiful and a few of our various friends, we had a great group from Cabot High School, Junior ROTC, as well as a group from Little Rock Air Force Base, Airman Leadership School. Boy Scout Troop 201 had a very large group of scouts out there. Everyone received a safety briefing before the event happened. The volunteers that worked with CTS, our contractor, had a more advanced safety briefing on the proper handling of the hazardous waste. So let's go over some of the numbers. All of the tires collected were taken to the regional recycling site where they were shredded and will be used to make other products. A total of 226 tires were collected and stacked in the very large cage trailer that you see there. All of the batteries, automotive, ATV, marine, motorcycle, they were collected by the Boy Scout troop, and that was a total of 1,200 pounds of batteries. And you may recognize this fellow right there in the middle, maybe. Councilman Reed and his wife were out there, and they worked very hard that day, and we thank them for being out there. All right, hazardous metals are contained in many of today's electronics, and we do not want those to go in our landfills, of course, because they could potentially affect our groundwater. We collected over 7,000 pounds of electronic component waste that day. And again, thank you to Central Arkansas Planning and Development District for handling the recycling of those materials. Boy Scout Troop 201 facilitated the collection of all the scrap metals. They have a connection at one of the metal recycling sites down in Little Rock, and they use this event as a fundraiser. With the 9,940 pounds of scrap metal that they collected, they made $621. Put that together with the $167 that they made from the batteries that they collected, they raised almost $800 that day, which will be used for their various activities, equipment, and programs. Gone for Good Paper Shredding is a business division of the United Cerebral Palsy of Arkansas. They do a few recycling events every year, and we were fortunate enough to be one of those events. They collect paper and documents from the general public by placing in secure containers and then transporting it to their NAID certified facility for destruction. So 1,232 pounds of confidential materials were securely shredded and destroyed as the result of our event. WCA Services brought us 5 30-yard dumpsters, and we filled all 5. If you've never worked at one of these collection events, you'd be amazed at some of the stuff that shows up. People will bring a lot of common items, but some folks bring some very unique and bizarre items, and you may see a couple of those in a couple of slides here. This is where we also appreciate the crew that came from the street department with their dump truck and backhoe. These come in very handy when we need very heavy items lifted into the dumpsters, as well as compacting the debris when those dumpsters start looking like they're full. And when they get done compacting it, there's all kinds of space left in there. So we appreciate that. Here are just a few, oh, I wasn't done yet, sorry. Okay. Here's where our contractor, CTS, comes into picture. Their responsibilities are to collect, container, transport, and destroy. And if any items can be reused or recycled, they'll handle that as well. All of the numbers that I'm about to share with you are on the handout that that Michael passed out to you, and we've got additional copies if anybody would like one. But We'll just run through them. Aerosols, 511 pounds. Batteries, which includes alkaline and lithiums, that was 338 pounds. Bulbs, that's 4 foot, 8 foot, and compact fluorescents, circulars, and tubes. And I have some updated numbers that Tim Clay sent me today. So what you see here, that 976 is actually 1,008. Corrosives, which are acids and base, 235 pounds. Cylinders, updated number of 37. Those are compressed gas, small and large cylinders. Flammables, liquids and solids. Those could be solvents, old gas, oil, paints, cleaners. 4,829 pounds. Used oil and petroleum products, and that also includes various oil compounds, antifreeze, hydraulic fluids, 4,422 pounds. Oxidizers, powders and solids, 195 pounds of that. That would be like pool chemicals, things like that. Here's the drum roll, the biggie. Paint, bulk latex, 10,518 pounds of bulk latex paint. Poisons, liquids and solids, and that includes pesticides and herbicides, 878 pounds. So the grand total of hazardous waste collected is 22,140 pounds of hazardous materials. If you add in the scrap metal of 9,940, I'm not going to go over the numbers again. If you add in the scrap metal, the debris, the auto batteries, the e-waste, the paper, I don't have a weight on the tires, but if you take an average weight of a tire of 30 pounds, and that's an average auto tire, and we had some tractor tires, and they average anywhere between 200 to 250 pounds, a cumulative weight of everything collected that day was 64,192 pounds. Just a reminder, when we requested the cost estimates from our contractors, we used the collection numbers from the past few years' events. We and the contractors made a best guess calculation on what it would cost for the services needed for a 2021 event. Then we came to you, the council, and asked for the approval on what we hoped would come in at right around $21,000. We're here tonight as good stewards of the funds that you approved to submit this invoice for $20,403.59, and that includes tax. So we came in right at what we estimated. And here's just a few more photos of what went on in the hazardous waste area. And you might see Miss Hilda coming up right here with an armful of paint cans. All right, here are just a couple of the truly dangerous items that were taken in by CTS that day. The top one is coated and is no longer allowed for production in the United States. Also, it cannot be destroyed in the United States. The bottom one also is no longer in production in the U.S., but it can be destroyed here in the U.S. But both of these have such unique characteristics and toxicity that Mr. Clay wanted to bring it to our attention. And he said that they are not going to charge us to destroy these two items because they want to use them in future presentations to other communities to make them aware of what could potentially be out in their areas and could pose a threat to humans and the environment. So I think I said at the last conversation we had that Keep Arkansas Beautiful uses our events as an example. Well, now we've got another feather in our hat. that somebody from Cabot brought this stuff. So, whoop-de-doo. Shout out, I want to thank the street department again for their help in the heavy lifting and the compaction. Cabot Police Department, thank you to Captain Steely and his crew. It was a very busy morning, a lot of activity, but we moved smoothly and timely and got the vehicles through the line. We estimate that approximately 425 vehicles came through the collection area. And the police department was very busy, but I think the fire department was kind of bored that day. They didn't have anything to do, thankfully. There were no spills and there were no incidents of hazardous waste. So, but thanks for being there. We definitely appreciate that. And I'll answer any questions that you may have. I know that was long and boring, so. If no questions, again, I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for your support. And again, thank you for your time.
You want to take about 20 seconds and plug what you got coming up?
Pardon me?
You want to take about 20 seconds and plug your next event?
Oh, well, this was a hazardous waste collection. What we have coming up on this coming Saturday is a citywide litter pickup. So if you have nothing else to do and you want to come help clean Cabot, come on.
Help me remember this hazardous waste event. What, it had been 2 years since you'd had one?
3 years.
3 years since you'd had one. Okay.
And we didn't know what would be out there.
But you found out, didn't you?
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Mayor, that concludes.
Yeah, and before I go to military, on behalf of the council and the mayor, I want the record to show that we thank you, Matt, and you, Michael Jones, for all your hard work, and Cabot City Beautiful for what you did. This will definitely be on the books. I'm sure council will approve that in the budget going forward. And I want to thank you again for not using all my community development budget. I appreciate that.
Left you a couple $100.
I appreciate that. Next item, Military Affairs Committee. Okay, thank you, Mr. Waymack. General community input. Now's the time if you'd like to say anything. You can come up to the podium, or you can wait until we do our regular council meeting and do your input then, whatever's best. Seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I got a motion from Mr. Reed, a second from Matt Weber. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn 7:33. We're going to take a 5-minute break and then have the council meeting. Thank you. the April 5th council meeting to order. If everyone take their seats. Okay, we're going to start off with the opening prayer. Mr. Michael Jones, if you could do that, then after that, if Stephen Redd, if you would do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd appreciate it, sir.
Will you bow with me? Dear God, thank you for allowing us all to gather here tonight. We ask that as we go throughout these discussions that you give us discernment and understanding, and may the work that we do here be an expression of your will. Thank you, or amen.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Stephen. Can we get a roll call, please, Tammy?
Long,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
Red,
Here.
Hillenberg,
Here.
Cope.
She is not with us.
Okay, thank you. Reed,
Here.
Weber,
Here.
Waymack.
Here.
Thank you, Tammy. Next item is approval of the minutes from March 29th, 2021. Can I get a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion, we adopt the minutes.
And I second.
I got a motion from James, a second from Brandon, to adopt the March 29th, 2021 council minutes from the state of the city. Any discussion? See none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Red,
Yes.
Hillenberg,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Passes. Next item is read ordinance and resolutions by title only. Do I get a motion?
Make a motion to read ordinance by title only.
Second.
Got a motion from Stephen, a second from Ron to read ordinances and resolutions by title only. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Long,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Red,
Yes.
Hillenberg,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item, City Council old business. I have two items for tonight on the agenda. First is ordinance number 8 of 2021. Please, Tammy.
Ordinance number 8 of 2021, an ordinance to rezone part of the southeast 1/4, southwest 1/4, section 19, Campground Road, City of Cabot, Lonoke County, Arkansas, from R-1 to R-2, amending the land use plan, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes. Third reading.
Mayor, I make a motion, we adopt ordinance 8 of 2021.
I got a motion to adopt ordinance number 8 of 2021. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second from Stephen Redd. Any discussion? Any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Red,
Yes.
Hillenberg,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
No.
Waymack,
No.
Long,
Yes.
Jones.
No.
That's 4-3, isn't it?
Yes.
So it fails. Correct? Okay. Next item, ordinance number 9 of 2021. Please, Tammy.
Ordinance number 9 of 2021, an ordinance to rezone part of the south 1/2, section 19, South Pine Street, City of Cabot, Lonoke County, Arkansas, from R-1 to C-2, General Commercial District, amending the land use plan, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes. Third reading.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 9 of 2021.
And I'll second.
I got a motion by Brandon to adopt and a second from James Reed to adopt ordinance number 9 of 2021. Any discussion? Any discussion by the public? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Hillenberg,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Red.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Do we need to declare emergency? It's in the language. Do we need to? Okay,
We don't need to, we don't
Okay.
need to merge.
gotcha. Any old business left? All I have is new business is 2 resolutions. First one is resolution number 18 of 2021.
18 of 2021, a resolution authorizing a waiver of the service weapon award policy and for other purposes.
I make a motion to adopt 18 of 21.
And I'll second.
Got a motion by Stephen, a second by James to adopt resolution number 18 of 2021. Any discussion? Any by the public? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Red,
Yes.
Hillenberg,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Thank you, pass 7-0. Next
Do we
resolution
need
is
to do an
number...
emergency clause on that or no?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Resolution number 19 of 2021, please, Tammy.
19 of 2021, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk treasurer to enter into an agreement with Red River Auto Group for the purchase of a vehicle and for other purposes.
Okay, everybody, what this was, I didn't complete the final negotiation until today. As you know, trucks are at a shortage, and this truck is for Construction Services Division, which you already approved the budget for that of $210,000, I believe. And according to the regulations, even though it's from a state bid and it's a new vehicle, council recommended that we still bring it before council for y'all to approve since it's over $20,000. And I think it's 28 and some change maybe for a 4-wheel drive, 4-door, 8-foot bed construction truck. And as you know, these things are hard to get a hold of anymore, and we needed to lock it down because they could sell this truck about 10 times tomorrow. But it's what we need in the department. So my apologies for putting it on at the last minute today. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we adopt resolution 19 of 2021.
And I second.
I got a motion from Ed, a second by Brandon to adopt resolution 19 of 2021. Any discussion? Anyone from the audience? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please, Tammy.
Hillenberg,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Waymack,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Red.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next item is community input. If you would like to address the council and the mayor, please come to the podium and state your name, and you have a couple minutes.
Why do I have a problem with this? Okay. I just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up. With the governor's mask mandate lifted, we were able to open the building, the library building back up Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. There are some restrictions still in place for staff safety and whatnot, but We are open. We are having a garden space, a story walk thing on Saturday morning outside. We're putting one in, but things are getting sort of back to normal, and I just want to let you know.
Thank you for the update. Anyone else? Council, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I got a motion from Ed, a second from Stephen. To adjourn, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, adjourn 7:50.